I grew up in Pittsburgh till I was 10. Chased out of Pittsburgh. My dad running from the Gambino mob. I think my karmic wheel is the size of a tricycle tire.
Yeah.
If I do something, I stole a guitar when I was 19 out of a music store. And when I got home, my house was robbed.
You're around a lot of industry people, right? Because you're really up there. I think the Smashing Pumpkins opened for your band at one point.
When we got signed to MCA, they were our opening act at our record signing.
Do you believe that there's anything weird or shady going on in the industry? Because a lot of people, they'll say you have to go to a Diddy party to really make it in the industry. And you have to do weird things like sell your soul to the devil.
And I can't imagine me covered in baby oil at a P. Diddy party.
There's one time you and your band didn't want to perform. So instead of performing, you called it a bomb threat?
Yes.
Yeah, let's hear that story.
Okay, so I don't think they can come get me at this point. It was 1978.
All right, everybody, we're joined with the legendary Michael Piranha. This guy's a freaking beast, and he also happens to be my uncle. He has a lot of cool stories, so I guess we'll get this started by you giving a brief introduction of who you are and kind of like what your life story has been, because you've got some wild stuff, brother.
It's nice to see you. It's nice to have you come visit. He's being nice to me because this is my yard.
What a way to start a podcast.
That's it.
What about your life story? What about the band you played in, everything that you went through?
Oh, here we go. I was born a poor white boy in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in 1954. Back when Dwight Eisenhower was president. He's now on postage stamps. I grew up in Pittsburgh till I was 10. Chased out of Pittsburgh. My dad running from the Gambino mob. From a numbers game that he was not playing fairly on as a restaurant owner.
Was that like numerology or no?
Oh, he was running numbers, like lottery numbers, when lottery was illegal. In 1964 for the Gambino mob, and got chased out of Pittsburgh. And we left overnight, moved to Chicago. And in 1964, I started going to Chicago public schools and got an interest in music shortly thereafter, and played in bands through grade school and high school, and then couldn't shake it and kept doing it, and still doing it to this day. Never an honest day's work.
So when did you start the Piranha Brothers, which became your main thing?
That was started in 1977 after we had a band, a successful Chicago band called Get Your Kicks. Two of us, Tom Gehrman and I, formed Piranha Brothers, took the last name Piranha. My real last name is McGraw. And but Tim McGraw took that with all the money, so I'm not using that name. I've used the name Piranha since then as a stage name, and I've gone through many incarnations of the band.
You know what's so funny? You started that band in 1977. 1977 is the year of the snake, and you, my friend, were born in the year of the snake, which happens to be my enemy sign because I'm a pig and you're a snake. Isn't that so crazy? So you start your band in the snake year,
it's great.
Unintentionally.
I've called you a pig so many times before I knew you were one.
Guys, what do you think about this?
I got to give him the dozens. He's my favorite nephew. Okay.
Isn't this a crazy dynamic? What would you describe our dynamic as? It's like aunt or uncle and grandson. Like,
it's old man in a near duel to the death with a 6'1" YouTuber.
The amount of times that you said you were going to strangle me, I think, is above 10.
I'll only do it when you're sleeping. You're too big now. I could threaten him when he was 6 years old. He was like, a nugget. But you've grown up quite well.
Nowadays, I'm standing on business.
Write down what you eat. I want to eat that and be like you.
Absolutely. Do you believe in like astrology and numerology? Like, can you feel the enemy energy between you and me? Can you feel the fact that like cosmically we are designed to be enemies, like pig and snake? Or do you think that's all BS?
I don't think I have an opinion on it. I've seen a lot of numerology predictions and stuff that have come to fruition. I don't know if it's good luck or if people are just tapped into that energy. I think there's a bunch of different energy levels of how to perceive things on this life plane. And I think every path somebody takes, if they take it sincerely and with compassion, they're going to find out things that they wouldn't if they didn't take it, right? So you're into numerology.
Kind of.
So you're flirting with it.
I'm more so into Islam right now.
Yeah,
which we can talk about that too.
I know, and you're going to the mosque today.
Yes, bringing my dad.
There's a beautiful mosque here in Manoa, which is on the island of Oahu. We are in Honolulu proper now, and we're up a hill called Wilhelmina Rise, just up from Diamond Head Crater. So it's not a far drive for him to get to his mosque.
And what day are you born on?
I was born on a Friday.
Oh, like the number, like the 17th, 15. So you're all about like family. Like you find a big connection to like your family, right? Is that true? You got some 6 energy in you.
Yeah, I guess. I guess. Yeah. I mean, you're going to educate me about numerology right now because I don't know much about it.
I'd say like numerology is like the language of God. So God kind of can speak to us with things that like we're almost like animals to God, and he could like nudge us in a certain way. We're like dogs to God. Like he can't talk to us, but he can nudge us. And I believe he uses numbers and patterns to nudge us if you know what you're looking for. So for example, I'm a 33 life path, which means I was literally born to do social media like this, according to numerology. I think last time I did it, you're like an 8, meaning that like anytime you do anything bad in your life, the karma comes like around and it hits you right in the ass, like right away. Is that true? Like anytime you've ever done something not so great in your life, it just came right back around and spanked you in the ass? Or
I truly believe in karma. My faith, my studies are with Buddha and the Buddhist philosophy. It's not a religion, as some people mistakenly call it. It is a philosophy on clear thinking and compassion. So I truly believe in karma. I think my karmic wheel is the size of a tricycle tire.
Yeah.
If I do something, I stole a guitar when I was 19 out of a music store. And when I got home, my house was robbed. I had the guitar and nothing, all my guitars were gone.
holy smokes.
So I mean, that was a very impactful thing. I thought I was doing something. There was a deceitful man. I was working at the music store. He was so cheap that he could pick a quarter off the table with his butt cheeks, you know, and he was not good to his employees. So I decided to boost something from him. And that, no matter when I've done a transgression against other humans, I've paid for it almost immediately. I truly believe in karma. I think we have that in common.
Yeah, that's that 8 energy, right? Like, especially if you're an 8, it just goes like, what you look at the shape of the 8, right? What goes around comes around. And your money is also directly linked to your karma. Like if you have bad karma, your money is not going to be as good. And you've probably had times where your money's like up and down in life. Like you've had a lot of money, then you lost it all. That's kind of like the 8. Like it comes in waves, right? Do you have any stories about like when you're like up big or down bad or?
Well, mine's more of a journeyman story. It's probably simpler than that, and there's probably not a lot of profundity to it. I mean, I've been a struggling musician and a non-struggling musician my whole life. So it's been, I mean, I'm dedicated to my craft. I just, you know, you're doing real well. You're monetized. You have a lot of followers. You're popular. You know, you got this thing going that wasn't available, of course, when we didn't even have cell phones. We had a cord attached to the wall phone, you know, when I started playing professionally in a band. So it was just, for me, it was just work more. Get more jobs, get closer to a record label signing, which we did, and we can get to that. But I was just push, and save the money and spend the money on developing the band and stuff. So for me, I've always been a hand-to-mouth kind of money guy. I will not retire to Bel Air or Hollywood or something like that. We have a lovely place here in Hawaii, and both of us work our buns off to maintain it still.
Yeah. So you kind of like, you're around a lot of industry people, right? Because you're really up there. I think the Smashing Pumpkins opened for your band at one point.
When we got signed to MCA, they were our opening act at our record signing.
Do you believe that there's anything weird or shady going on in the industry? Because a lot of people, they'll say you have to go to a Diddy party to really make it in the industry. And you have to do weird things like sell your soul to the devil. Have you seen anything like that? Because that's a big thing in rock and roll. Like Marilyn Manson, all these people, they said that they sold their soul to the devil. Do you think that's true?
Oh, well, you have to believe in a devil to believe. I don't subscribe to that form of religion. But, and I can't imagine me covered in baby oil at a P. Diddy party. So I don't know about... I think that bad behavior with the excess of wealth is a lot more obtainable. If you want to behave poorly, you can buy your way out of it. You can buy your way into it. So I've never been, you know, I've had fun with the boys and the girls after a show, and I'd say pretty good-natured stuff, you know, a little rowdy. Sometimes people in uniforms would come up and talk to us, but the level of that kind of moral corruption, you really got to fuel that with some money. Right?
Yeah.
I think.
So how do you think you make it in the industry? Like, do you think there's certain people that you have to suck up to get a contract, or do you think if you're just good enough, it's going to happen?
You know, I don't know what make it means anymore. I mean, I'm still alive, still healthy, and doing what I'm doing in my 7th decade.
Right.
I consider myself somebody who made it. I'm not a household name. I'm well respected in the community. I'm a musician, but you know, I think it comes back to karma.
Mm-hmm.
I think I probably wasted a lot of time spinning my wheels creatively and stuff, and the payoff was moderate instead of intense, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let me ask you a question. If you had a whole lot of money, I mean, like expendable income,
Mm-hmm.
what would you do?
I like to think I'd give a lot of it away to people in need. Like, I don't understand, we're talking about this one time, I don't understand why people will spend $1,000 on a purse. Like, I was just in Balenciaga the other day. Their bags are like $2,000 and they're ugly too.
And I'm drinking from the same cup of coffee as you are, brother.
Uh-huh.
I can't. When I drive through Waikiki and I see the Victoria's Secret displays and a pair of underwears, $700, I'm like, hey, Amazon, I need some $5 underwear. Send it quick, you know? So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the biggest scam is people will spend $20,000 on a pair of shoes, but that homeless guy that's struggling, that just wants like a $5 thing to eat, but you just walk past him like he's the scum of the earth.
Yes. I close my show. I work 4 times a week now instead of 1,000,000 times a week because I'm getting up there. So 4 residencies in the clubs I work are fine with me. And I close my show every night with be kind to one another, be good to yourself. There's a bunch of people outside this club or this restaurant that are wandering around that could really need a hand up and a smile, and reach in your pocket and help them. Don't tell a soul. And that's good for your soul. So that's the karmic reference I make. Don't brag that you helped a guy get a meal. Give him a meal. Move on, right? We don't know the nightmare he or she's living.
Exactly. And we're talking about the division in this country. Like, it's almost like it's purported in mainstream media and social media to look at these people as a problem.
It's horrible, and I agree with you. I stopped watching the news very recently, stopped watching all news, and even the broadcasters that favor my political views, I can't stand what they're doing right now. It's really kind of a stupid sword fight, and it's not progressive for anybody. So, yeah, I'd say be proactive. If you want to help people, go help people.
Exactly.
Jimmy Carter built homes for homeless all the way up until he was 100 years old. You know, that guy, you talk about the karmic wheel, he hit the lottery.
Yeah. Who is it that said, if you want to change the world, start by changing yourself? Who was it that said that? Do you know?
No, I do not.
That's such a good quote. And Jordan Peterson will have things like clean your room, right? Like, you can't go help the world if your own personal world is a mess. Like, you got to look in the mirror and be like, am I the best person I could be? And if not, how the hell are you going to help anybody else? You can't pour from an empty bucket. Right?
Well said. Beautiful. Whenever there's a quote that I don't recognize the author of the quote, I always attribute it to Pee Wee Herman.
Pee Wee Herman?
Sure, why not?
I think that's like a Michael Jackson quote or something. Or Jordan Peterson, I don't know.
I'm just, somebody would say,
Gotcha.
Like, we have not yet begun to fight. Pee Wee Herman. So, who knows? On a tricycle with a sword.
There's one time you and your band didn't want to perform. So instead of performing, you called it a bomb threat? Yeah, let's hear that story.
Okay, so I don't think they can come get me at this point. It was 1978. We were working at a very, very popular club in Honolulu. We were the resident band. We were here for a 14-week residency and then back to Chicago. But we were working 6 days a week, and it was 4 sets a night, 4 15-minute sets. It was exhausting. Plus, we did recreational fluids. We'd go out and drink beer after the show or before the show. We were working 6 days a week. So when we had to come back to work on a Sunday, we had spent the afternoon at Dickens Pub on Kapiolani Boulevard consuming way too much happy beverages.
Yeah.
So we're all tired. We're looking at each other going, we don't want to gig tonight. We don't want to gig. And I was just playing around. I think I was cutting my food, and I said, I was just calling a bomb threat. And I looked up, and everybody in the band was looking at me going, bomb threat? And I'm like, no, no, not a, I just said, and a very, very forward motion roadie we had who wanted to make all kinds of trouble. He spoke real good pidgin English, Hawaiian pidgin, He called the place where we were playing, and called in a bomb threat. Hey, brother, there's going to be one fucking bomb going off at 9 o'clock. I just slammed the phone down, and I'm like, Jimmy, I can't believe he did that. So he said, well, let's go. So we drove over there, and there was 15 squad cars with the rollers on. And we're like, uh-oh. And we pulled up, and the cop said, you know, it's a small shopping mall with a nightclub in it. And he said, I got to tell you, there's been a bomb threat, and all the clubs, all the stores are closed, except the nightclub. They stayed open. And we're like, oh, shit. So we went in, and the manager of the nightclub knew what aspects we were.
Really?
And he was standing there going, did you hear there was a bomb threat? And we're like, a bomb threat. And he said, you're late, get on stage. And at exactly 9 o'clock, he walked out in front of us while we were playing to an empty club because we called in a bomb threat.
Yeah.
And he put an umbrella up and watched his watch for 1 minute with the umbrella over him. Then he took the umbrella down and walked back in his office.
Why? For the bomb?
Pure sarcasm. Like, I know you guys did it here, just in case it's real. Okay, it's not real. Bye, I'm going to the office. Yeah, we played a full night with an empty club.
Uh-huh.
And
like completely empty.
Not a person.
Whoa.
Look, we practiced songs.
Do you still get paid?
We did, and we didn't get fired.
Okay.
That's the most important thing. But yeah, that was back in the heyday, man. That was when it was a 16-year-old boy or girl, if they dressed up right, could get into a 21 club. Nobody cared, right?
Yeah.
There was no pictures on driver's license. Seriously, in 1978, right? It was just a printed out license, and you know, there was basically young teenagers going into adult clubs, and it was wild. But it was, in a way, it was wholesome too, because there was no big fights. There was no, I'll say fuckery is the word. People were good to each other, and that's the thing in Hawaii. I mean, aloha lives. There's a gentleness here that I couldn't find in Chicago a lot of the time, and I wanted to choose this place because of the way people treat each other. No bomb threats. No more bomb threats.
That's insane, man. And then you mentioned moving here. You know what's funny about here, though, is this is a pig state. So by, like, astrology, you're not supposed to live here. This is your enemy state. Has there been anything bad? I think you broke your ribs, like, bike riding.
I crashed a bike on this hill. This hill has a 900-foot elevation. We're at the top of it almost, and has a switchback road that's pretty steep. And I did right after I married your auntie. I was cruising down at quite a clip, and I took a sharp turn, and I crashed. I collapsed along, broke 3 ribs.
Wow. Do you think that's like anything to do with the fact that this is your enemy state?
No, I think it has to do with I was a crappy bike rider. I think it was nothing more than what it was.
Fair enough.
And I remember my thought as I was watching my wheels up above my head, it was, uh-oh.
Yeah.
It was just simple, uh-oh. Yeah. And then I landed.
It's always like when you crash your bike, it doesn't feel real, right? Like it feels like you're in a dream.
I'll tell you this, you're going to like this. Sounds like something out of a Chevy Chase movie. I was laying there looking up at the sky, trying to reach my phone to call my wife.
Yeah.
And I just saw this kind woman's face over me like this. And I'm looking up, and she said, you crashed at the right place. I'm a nurse and my husband's a surgeon.
Oh.
And then they both walked out and said, he's hurt. And they called the AMBO for me.
Wow. Wow. Do you think that's like something spiritual?
I think I have cheated the jaws of death through some grace.
Yeah.
Many times.
Holy smokes. So you went from like crazy to musician. What was like the crazy, I guess I could ask you, what's the number one thing that you learned like being around that whole scene? Like any life lessons that you could pass on to maybe me and the audience?
Yeah, spend less time partying and more time practicing your skills. Work like you work at your craft. I don't know that I would ever, at your age, I ever had the devotion to do something like you're doing. You have a drive that is going to pay off for you as long as you stay balanced and compassionate. And I think I wasted a lot of time having way more fun than I should have.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. I mean, I didn't take it. I mean, it was just an era where there was money and there was, you know, women or men, if that's what you like. But, you know, I'm just saying there was a lot of stuff for a young single man to consume his time with rather than progress in his career. So I think I wasted a lot of bands did. I mean, you've seen bands rise to the top and disintegrate because of partying and, you know, getting brain addled from drug abuse and stuff. We didn't have a big drug problem in the band. You know, I think, you know, we all got buzzed and stuff, but there was nobody that went down the dark road.
Right. How come, like, your career with the Piranha Brothers, how come it, like, never took off? Like, I'm pretty sure the record label, like, dropped you at some point. Like, what was the reason for that?
We were signed to MCA in 1988, at the beginning of 89. Like I said, we were a very popular Chicago band. Smashing Pumpkins opened for us. They had just gotten together. We had no idea that they were going to want to be one of the biggest bands in the world in 5 years.
Yeah.
But we were a really good band. Our album that we recorded for MCA is streaming now. You can stream the Piranha Brothers Lost MCA album 1989. That's what it's called. Piranha Brothers Lost MCA album 1989. You can stream it. You can hear what we did. It's excellent. It's an excellent album. I still stand by it. But what happened was MCA Records bought Motown. And they started, just like the United States government's doing now, cutting budget. Everywhere, cutting budget. MCA cut 18 Caucasian rock bands because they purchased Motown and they were still pumping tons of money into their country label. And we were one of the bands they cut. It was just cut and dried. It was a notice. You know, the A&R guy didn't call us, anybody. They said, my manager called, he was Howard Rosen out of LA, and said, you guys are cut.
Yeah.
So,
wow, man.
So at that point, I was 38. That's way too old to get re-signed to a label. Now, 28's too old to get signed to a label. 22, you know. So I looked at my partner, Tom Piranha, and I said, let's move to, we're in Chicago. I said, let's move to Hawaii. Let's just be giggers and we'll move to Hawaii. And we did, and it paid off for us. You think it might rain?
Yeah, dude, we're in Hawaii and it's like pouring. I think it's fine as long as you're fine. Like, I don't mind it.
I'm good.
Yeah. So you went from crazy partying musician, kind of like living your fun, to eventually kind of, the audience can't see, but you have an entire Buddhist like structure back here. What was it specifically? Like, did you have a moment where you specifically realized, like, okay, I need to like make a change where I become more spiritual in my approach to life? Or
this is very recent for me because I was starting to become a news addict. I was starting to be very, very biased in my views, although I still think my views are compassionate and politically correct for me. But it wasn't working. My mind was being occupied by non-productive things to a large degree.
Right.
I was worrying about the world at a point where I just had to celebrate being in it. And I wasn't doing anything good by worrying about it or arguing about it or being angry about it. So I started looking to philosophies, and I came upon this and started reading a little and then listening a little, and it all started when the biggest Buddhist icon there, I bought it in Goodwill for $5 because I thought it was pretty.
Yeah.
And I found out that I liked looking at it. I liked being around it. And I started building this up. And then I started reading about clearing your mind and just feeling compassion. And I'm a simple monkey, and I don't have, it's a very complicated philosophy. There's tons of levels. I'm sure you, since you're studying Islam right now, you're finding out, you're peeling back more and more layers.
Right.
So I'm learning stuff. In Star Trek, in Star Wars language, I'm a Padawan observer. So I'm just a little Padawan. I haven't gotten my Jedi sword yet, you know.
Right.
But I love it. I love the kindness of it.
Right.
And I love the garden. You can't see it, but it's a 12 Buddha garden with 12 different icons. Very pretty with plants and stuff. It's awesome. Yeah. And yeah, even Tice, when he came out, when he first sat down and saw everything lit up at night, he was like, podcast here.
Yeah, exactly. Have you spent any time looking into religions like Christianity or Islam?
Well, I was raised a Methodist.
Okay.
And it was through my mother went to church regularly. My father wouldn't recognize a church if it snuck up and bit him on the okole. So yeah, and I used to ask my mother. I had a curiosity like you did because I was a Protestant, raised a Protestant, and there were sects, right? There was Baptist, Methodist, Lutheran, and I asked my mom one day when I was a kid, what's the difference between a Methodist and a Baptist? And she took a drag on her cigarette. She was very wise and very funny, and she said, Methodists pay their rent on time. which was really funny, and I got the joke, right? Because she was saying we're a higher economic class than a lot of Baptist people, but she wasn't being denigrating. She's just, there was a lot of jokes about Baptists back then, right?
Yeah.
So, I always found gentility and high moral ground in the church. All this corruption you read about, priests and clergy doing things. I was always around great ministers. Female and male, and they were kind and they were guiding. And I just I let go of the idea of God being a big guy up there with a golden G on his robe. I let that go. And I'll tell you what turned me, watching the Star Wars series from when I was in my late 20s, about an energy that existed karmically too, right? I'm pretty sure that Lucas and all those guys based a whole lot of stuff on the Buddhist philosophy. Even some of the stars have, the characters have Buddhist names, right? I mean, Padme is Darth's mother. That's the part of the main Buddhist chant, right? Om Mani Padme Om. Om Mani Padme Om. That's how you clear your mind, chanting that over and over. But it's spelled exactly the same as the mother of Darth, who went to the dark side, right? The bad karmic side.
What do you think about people that say, like, when you're chanting these things, you're like evoking evil spirits? Because people say, like I guess my question is, like, who do you pray to anybody in Buddhism? Like, when you're chanting, like, what are you chanting for? Like, are you channeling on spirits, or like
you meditate, you clear your mind, and you just let the entire energy, as far as I can see, the entire energy of what's around you pass into you and through you, and just feel the beauty of everything. I mean, it's been a good recourse for me, and I don't think it's funny. I never even thought about invoking a demon while I'm chanting. But it just clears my head. And I even went on YouTube like you do to find stuff out. I went on YouTube to find out how to exactly pronounce it, right? Because it's
like I do for Islam, like praying.
And stuff, you really have to learn that, and there's so much to this philosophy. I am just a little Padawan without my lightsaber yet. But I like the way I feel doing this.
Yeah, because you got to go off your own gut instinct. Like, people are saying, like, why are you more into Islam? Well, because I went to church, and I never really felt like that much. Like, I feel peaceful because I be with my friends, but when reading the Bible, I never really feel anything. But then I stepped foot into a mosque, and I started putting my head to the floor like Jesus used to do. Jesus used to pray with his head to the floor. I started praying like a Muslim, looking into Islam. And, like, I don't know, people are like, you shouldn't go off your feelings. But I'm like, bro, I'm always going to trust my gut when it comes to, like, my own spiritual journey. You should always go by feelings. Like, what, are you just going to go by some book? Like, go by your gut instinct.
Do you feel more peaceful after your ritual?
I wouldn't call it a ritual, but after praying, yeah.
Yeah, after praying, okay.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I mean, the main thing about the Buddhist philosophy when it comes to other religions is they acknowledge all religions. They have no argument with any religion. They believe all religions are good, and they believe as long as you follow a compassionate path in however you worship, that you're moving towards a better karmic state. Samsara is the reincarnation of you coming back in another life to keep working out your bad stuff. So samsara is a bad thing if you want to rate it like
that lady at the club.
What was that?
The Elks Club. I don't want to leak it, but like, she's on bad samsara.
Yeah, she's gonna come back as a waitress for 200 years. she was a meanie. She was a blue meanie. But yeah, samsara is the trip back until you clear your reincarnation path with just compassion and goodness, and then you just evolve into not a Buddha, but just an open light and life.
I think that numerology really ties into that too, because numerology,
it seems similar.
Yeah, it believes in old souls and young souls. Like, for example, I'm a 33 life path in numerology, meaning I'm the oldest soul you could be, meaning that if I do everything right this life, this will be my last time here. So it goes like, I think 9 is the youngest soul, and then 11, 22, and 33 are like the oldest, and 8's pretty old too. I think you're an 8, so you've been here a couple times. But I guess that does kind of tie into the idea of reincarnation.
It sounds like a configuration of the same. I mean, is numerology linked to reincarnation? I don't know.
Kind of. It's the same kind of philosophy.
They believe you come back?
Yeah.
The basis of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Uh-oh. That was all the whiskey we had.
Oh, dude, come on now, that's haram.
This guy drinks more water than a river. I got to tell you.
Do rivers drink water?
I don't know. Bad analogy, but I don't think I drank.
Except for my pee's still yellow.
When I was, well, show us. I don't think I drank a glass of water from when I was 13 to I was about 40.
What do you drink then?
I would coffee, soda pop.
Well, coffee makes you more dehydrated.
It does. I hear it from my wife Diana every day. You're going to turn into a coffee bean. So I'm trying.
Yeah. So in Buddhism, like, do you believe in God or do you believe in a higher power? Or, like, what is like the core philosophy?
There's not someone to worship in the Buddhist faith. There's meditation to contemplate and compassion for everything that surrounds you. Mm. Believing if there's an entity that's worshipped, it's the completeness of life all around you, everything put together. Mm-hmm. There's not an icon.
Right.
Well, the Buddha, of course people go, he's crazy, the Buddha's an icon. But this was Siddhartha Gautama. And he was the son of a king. And when he was 26, he left the temple to go walk around the village in India. And he saw hungry and dying people. Mm-hmm. And he came back and he left the temple and never returned. He sacrificed the money, the riches, the wealth of being in the richest family in the country. And he traveled for 6 years and meditated and found some other spiritual masters until he received enlightenment. And then he spent the last 45 years spreading the enlightenment. I just think it's a great story. Never considered himself a god or an icon, just somebody whose light shone to him and showed him what to do. I like that.
So what do you think is like the meaning of life? Like, what do you think from a Buddhist kind of perspective is like the point that we're here? Like, why do you think we're here? Why do you think we have to reincarnate and come back and like learn and get our samsara right? Like, what do you think is the meaning behind it all? Because
the mind exists outside of the body even after death. The mind is this belief is that the mind is part of a universal energy that has to go somewhere all the time. There's scientists and lab people studying the Dalai Lama because he has a brainwave activity that's so different than everybody else's because of his enlightenment. And one of the things they say is that after death, the brain dies at death, but the mind doesn't. Mm-hmm. And it's been proven by some people that the mind lasts at least from 48 hours to 49 days. The mind is present after you drop the body. I don't know how they came to that decision, but it's looking for the next place. This consciousness exists even after this is gone. This is just an animal shape. Yeah. And it's looking for the next place to go into that tarp.
Yeah, why is it so windy, man?
The wind is at 700 miles an hour now and it's raining on us in paradise.
Bro, the Matrix is attacking.
It was a perfect day.
The Matrix is attacking this podcast. What do you think about like atheists? Like, I personally look at an atheist and I always feel like it's just kind of the most depressing worldview. Like, you wake up and there's just no purpose. We're just on some rock and we're gonna die. Like, what do you think about atheism?
I think studying this stuff, I think it's part of their journey is to go through that lack of faith.
Like, they're coming back.
I think we all are until, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's not always in human form. This is what the Buddhist philosophy is. Mm-hmm. It could be cat, it could be dog, it could be other creatures. Your mind, the energy of that particular mind goes and goes until it is enlightened. And then there's nirvana. You go to nirvana where you see all, know all, and you're there. And I don't know if you're inhabiting a body or not. Like I said, I'm going to make a lot of mistakes with this because I'm just starting to study it, but it has really, really helped me. Mm-hmm. Whenever I start to take somebody's inventory, like, look at that guy, what's he doing? He's talking too loud. He's cheering for the wrong team. He ate too much today. Look at his pants are too. When I start doing that, I realize what I'm doing to myself when I do that. I'm losing my compassion. I'm not understanding the journey he might be on, the heartbreak he or she is having, and what it means to them. So, that's all I can do right now is I need to let it pass through me so I can do more good things.
Why do you... Oh, shit, I keep kicking this over.
You behind soccer would have found this.
Why do you think society kind of seems to be like against like looking into spirituality? Like it almost feels like we have like an atheist materialistic society. Like, oh, go buy the newest smartphone, go buy the newest Balenciaga runners for $1,000 that you don't need. Like, why do you think that like society's so polarized? Like mainstream media, cheer for this side, no cheer for this side. Like, why do you think spirituality and the spiritual component is kind of taken out of society in the modern age?
I've always said that I think bad energy manifests itself quicker and more intensely than good energy.
Mm-hmm.
A fight in the bar starts and rolls into more than two people.
Mm.
A hug in a bar is usually one hug in a bar. Hey,
Right,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bad energy is more kinetic, and it could spread.
Why do you
quicker.
think that is?
I just think that anger is one of the great things that is completely spoken of in Buddhist philosophy. You have to drop the anger.
Mm.
The anger is the cyclical samsara. You're going to keep returning angry. You got to let it go through you. But people like I said about the newscasters, whether they're liberal or conservative newscasters, far left or far right, look. This guy that won the election, the personal attacks against the way he looks, the way he dresses, that's horrible.
Right.
Right? I mean, if you disagree with the policy and stuff that's going on, which I do, I'm certainly not going to post a picture of a politician that looks like a pig.
That's loser activity.
It's just terrible. And it doesn't push us forward to unity.
I've always thought that, like, when people I don't even like are being criticized based on appearance, I'm like, bro, like, the people that do that are sitting in their mom's basement just mad at the world. They wish they could be that person a lot of the time. Like, a lot of the time, like, damn, I haven't accomplished anything. Because society always tries to take down winners. Have you noticed that? Like, whenever somebody's, like, doing well, they snip at their toes.
I agree.
They try to grab their ankles, like, no matter who it is.
In my industry, they wait for that bad album to come out from that superstar. They wait for, or to call it a bad album. They wait for an actor to be in a movie that flops.
Right.
And so I think that attachment to failure and the anger with people's other success adds to your samsara. You'll be back again until you work that out.
Why do you think this loser mentality seems so prevalent? Like, I just go on social media and it's full of people saying, like, oh, Tyson, you're nobody, like, all this stuff. Like, not really. Like, I have a lot of support, but there's so many just, like, crabs at the bottom of the bucket on social media. Why do you think they just fester on Twitter?
It's like a troll army. I don't know why. I don't know. You have to look at them and see what their suffering is. That's what I say. What's happened to them that this lifts them away from their misery?
I think what it is just the pain of being nobody. Like, they know deep down inside they could be doing so much more in their life, but yet
do they know that though? They're really
jerking off on Twitter,
I don't know. I mean, you found something that fuels you. You've always, since I've known you, you've had your face stuck to some kind of screen, but it's doing stuff. When you were 6, I think, Minecraft.
Yeah, we had arguments over that. You tried to rip the iPad out of my hands.
It went from Minecraft to
Fortnite,
wall climbing, and then climbing to American Gladiator.
American Ninja Warrior.
And that's where your fitness came in, and it went from that to learning how to pitch and play baseball. So you keep following this path of positive development, and even though I think you're a whack job 41% of the time, and you think I'm one, but you're always pushing forward to develop more introspection into what you're doing and inviting other people in to show you what they're doing. So that you just have a positive energy that you're gifted with, but you can't hold it against the people that there's some kind of misery going on, like you said, with a troll in a basement, taking you down just because you're you. And it's the same thing I said of drawing political pictures of Trump or Biden or anybody as a guy in a coma or a pig or all that. There's no good that comes of it. Like Willie Nelson wrote, if you don't like what someone's doing, vote them out.
Yeah, exactly, man. And all these people too, like, just to bring it back to Trump, I know you don't like Trump, but I respected you when you said Like, yeah, all these people saying they wish he got shot and killed. Like, that was
ridiculous. Horrible.
Yeah.
It was horrible. I felt terrible when that happened. I was horrible. And then people were saying it was fake. How do you fake shooting somebody in the ear? I mean, go make a pizza. Go write a chapter of your first book. I mean, it's just what happened. And there's nobody to blame unless you want to assign that. It's what happened. Right? It's part of the progress on this planet. 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah.
And we'll see. I mean, goodness comes out. What did the Dalai Lama said? Even Hitler loved his family.
True. And some would argue
there was
he loved
somebody.
his country
I mean, and not in defense of Hitler, but
right.
There's love in the most hateful of corners. There has to be.
And he definitely loved his country. Like, he was Germany first, for sure.
Here's a story. When we moved to Chicago, when my dad got chased out by the mob and we moved to Chicago, we moved to 35th Street on the south side of Chicago. We rented the top floor of a 3-flat apartment. It was owned by a group of Lithuanians who expatriated because a lot of Lithuanians were in the SS in World War II. They worked for the Germans. And when Germany was conquered and defeated, a lot of Lithuanians who were actually in support of the Nazi movement moved, and a lot of them moved to Chicago. So I grew up in a Mexican, Irish, Lithuanian neighborhood. That was my neighborhood, Irish side. And our landlady was a lady named Mrs. Carvelis, and she was Hitler's wife, Eva Braun, common law wife. She was Hitler's wife's hairdresser.
Holy shit.
When I was 11 years old, she said, Michael, I'll show you some pictures. And she pulled out pictures, and it's Adolf Hitler watching her do Eva Braun's hair.
Whoa.
And I was already being taught in grade school about the evil of the Nazi regime and stuff. And I said, I was an honest kid. I was like you. I was very forward. And I said, Miss Carvelis, he was terrible. He was terrible. He killed millions of people. And she looked up at me, and there's a woman who's been through World War II, and she goes, he was kind to his mother.
Yeah.
He was kind to his mother.
Right.
So, I mean, there's no excuse. I can't get my rage and anger up over what happened because it happened. I can make sure on my little corner of the world, no unkindness ever happens. That's where I go from.
Yeah.
A lot of sarcasm.
Yeah.
No unkindness.
Of course.
How would you and I have a relationship if it wasn't for sarcasm?
We wouldn't. And that's people say, like, God made us all, like, the fact that God created us, we can't fully be dark. Like, we can't be fully consumed by darkness. Even, like, what was his name? Jeffrey Dahmer. Even he had, like, a pet cat or something that he loved.
That's in the Buddha philosophy as well. There's no complete darkness and no complete light until you reach enlightenment and you reach nirvana. And then you pass into is
that like your guys' heaven?
Emptiness is the heaven.
Emptiness.
Nothingness. Not the lack of existence. Just nothing around you to take away from the pure joy of your mind's existence. It sounds complicated.
Yeah, kind of.
And it confuses me. So I'm still, like I said, potty one observer, man. I'm muscling my way through it. But I can tell you this: it's like your Islam. It feels good.
Right.
So I'm going to do it.
What do you think about this, like, new kind of generation of, like, influencers that are, like, influencing people like me? Like, I showed you Sneeko. What did you think about Sneeko when I showed you him?
If you can't laugh at Sneeko, there's something genetically wrong with you.
Yeah.
I mean, just thinking about you showing me that in Los Angeles, it makes me laugh again.
Yeah.
How can you get 17 billion followers just telling people to fuck off?
Yeah.
It's amazing. So I don't know I don't have a comment on it except good for him. I bet he's driving a real nice car and his house is paid off.
Yeah. What do you think about Zerka? I think I showed you a bit of Zerka's vlog where he's like in New York.
He too chaotic for me. Just crazy, like chaos going on around him, and when there wasn't, he was creating some. But I can see that you're drawn to people with a strong masculine drive and a curious mind, even if they know the answers and they don't let other people answer after their questions.
Yeah.
So I think it's a cult of personality with those guys.
Right.
I think Sneeko,
Sneeko.
I think he's simply a comedian who's found his niche.
Seek truth through funny is his motto. Seek truth through funny is his motto.
Yeah. So, who was the other fellow? You said
Zerka. I've actually interviewed both of them.
He's a cult. Yeah, that's good. Good on you. He's a cult of personality. Yeah. And I think that manic energy, so many people have that because they're living life like this. And that's an odd thing for me. And I find myself doing it. We're all susceptible to it. But, I've imposed some disciplines. For me, it's to study the spiritual path and baseball. Those are two things that get me through. I anxiously await Cubby season. Yeah. And, that kind of stuff. And
do you think that the youth gravitates to these more masculine influencers because masculinity has kind of been demonized in society? Like almost like the idea of like a traditional like strong man is almost looked at as like bad.
I think it's very correct what you just said. I think the haters on the left, there's haters on both sides. I think the haters on the left have demonized masculinity. And what has happened is a lot of children in the educational system are experiencing not only the parity of girls and boys, women and men, but sometimes I think administrations, in order to push something forward, they're favoring the feminine side of stuff a lot. And we need to. It's a dialectic we have to go through, but a lot of young men are feeling left out and pushed back. And so that's why I see a real lot of macho young guys now. Yeah. A lot of chest beaters. You're sort of one, but you got a good mind. But I'm saying that they're rising up. I think it's the step backwards in everybody realizing that it doesn't matter what our gender is. We're all spirits moving through to the next life.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. The pendulum always swings. Like whenever it goes too far to the right or to the left, it always swings back. And now it's almost like a rebellion. Like you see these people that may or may not have like some sort of a toxic message, but at least they're talking masculinity, and kids eat that up, right? So the pendulum's swinging. I
think you have real good perceptions about that, and I think it's always done that. But I think it, like Springsteen sang, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Right. We're going to go through that dialectic all the time until, to me, and I'm going back to this again, compassion is being held down by its shoulders right now. We need compassion. Everybody needs to give a little more and let other people's anger be. You can't match their anger with yours. It doesn't win. That's why wars start. So you got to let it through. You got to protect your own, protect your family, do the right thing, be kind to one another, and be good to yourself. And being good to yourself is not chasing your own brain around going, I have no control over this, yet I'm going to get angry over it. Right.
Which is all the mainstream media is. Like, I think the mainstream media, they thrive off people getting pissed off. Yeah. That's why with my content, I don't try to rage bait. I don't try to make people mad. I make a lot of people very mad, but I don't that's not my thing. I don't just go out there and be like, I'm gonna see who I can piss off. I have these type of conversations because I want a positive message. This whole podcast has just been take care of yourself, be a good person. I want to make sure, as much as I am kind of political and I piss people off, I want to make sure the counter of that, I'm still having a good self-improvement message.
Yeah, I think you like the arena of being testy. And so, I've known you since you were 6, and you've always been driven to asking questions and looking at stuff. You also like a good backyard rumble. And I like to poke the bear with a stick. Yeah. But I know the essence of your being. It's very kind and loving, and you're a particularly unique kind of monkey.
Yeah, I definitely.
I love you, so I'm going to be biased, and nobody gives you a harder time than me.
Yeah, well, we are enemy signs. Has there ever been a time where you been pissed off by me? Probably a couple times. We're enemy signs, brother. You gotta sell it to the crowd that we're enemy signs.
Are you asking me if I'm going to kill you in your sleep while you're a guest in my house?
You got one more day to do it.
No, I'm going to stretch this out. This is going to be long and painful for you. Yeah. It's going to go by for years until you jump off a skyscraper with an umbrella.
Do you think that'd help if you jumped off with an umbrella? It would slow your fall a little bit. Depends how big the umbrella is.
I grew up around guys where I would say to them, let's jump off the roof with an umbrella. And they say, why do we need an umbrella? So,
I mean, who's that chick, Mary Poppins or whoever that floats around the city with her little umbrella?
Julie Andrews.
Oh, okay.
She's still around. Be careful. You might
Really?
see this.
Holy smokes.
She's like 90.
I've actually thought about that when I was younger. I've thought about getting an umbrella because I thought I'd glide down, but probably not. I'd probably break my ankle.
There were sneakers that came out when I was
Sneako?
There was Sneako. Sneako came out when I was like 1960. I was 6 or 7, and the commercials were for PF Flyer sneakers. PF Flyers. They were like the Adidas of back then, and they always showed little kids. The commercial was little kids that could fly, right? So they had these sneakers on, and they're like coasting through the air. And black and white commercial on TV. I jumped off a wall with mine, knocked my baby teeth out.
Whoa.
So
Holy.
I was convinced that PF Flyers were going to save me. So my faith was strong in PF Flyers. That was my church, I guess.
Yeah.
Did your chair just go back into the ground?
Yeah, I did. I don't know what the hell's going on. What the fuck?
You're in, that's where the cement ends?
Yeah, I just went back into the grass. I'm kind of in this because they say the snake is the wisest, like, animal. I'm kind of saying, like, the depths of your thinking here, too, as much as you're probably seeing mine.
Well, it's, I like bumping up against your brain. You've always been good to have an exchange with. He comes from a very kind and loving family, so the insanity thread must have skipped a generation and ended up with him.
Yeah. I do sometimes think I'm like kind of insane, and I wonder if it's like that's such a weird thing to just casually say. Yeah, sometimes I question my sanity, but I think it's because like the phone, like I think. What do you think the influences of smartphones and technology on my generation? Because I think my generation is the first generation that like 50%, if not more, of their life is literally online. Like I spend more time on my phone than like here in real life.
I got that. A lot of people too, not just your generation, my generation for sure too. I think a phone is like a gun.
Yeah, it can be a tool.
You can turn it on yourself, you can turn it on other people, or you can protect your life with it in an essential fashion, right? So there's a time to sit it down. I mean, I barked at them yesterday. The family rented a beautiful convertible, which nobody drives here, by the way. If you're in Hawaii, you won't own a convertible, you'll rent one for a day. And I told Tice, make sure you're not looking at your phone when you're driving past Waimea Bay and the jumping cliff and all the beautiful stuff. And I know he appreciates it because he's athletic and he likes to go out and see what he can do in this kind of environment that lets you be as athletic as you want every day of the year, because it's paradise. But I'm a little concerned about how much time you spend on it, but I also understand that you're really good friends with a screen. I've known you since you were a kid. Yeah. That's your devotion.
Yeah, that's kind of sad if you think about it.
I don't think it's sad. I think it's what it is. And I think that you would have never developed into this personality, with this following, if you wouldn't concentrate on how to work that phone.
Exactly.
You work that phone in a different way than I do. I Google tire shops or chords to songs. I go on, tabs.com so I can see what keys something is played in, And then I'm basically on the old person's social media. I'm on the Book of Faces,
Yeah.
So I'm not a TikToker. I'm on Instagram, but I never look at it. And I've never been on X or Twitter or any of that stuff.
I mean, that's kind of the thing, is like you could spend your time scrolling and being a mindless zombie. This is Sneako's catchphrase, is stop scrolling, start monetizing. This phone's a tool. You could make more money from your smartphone than clocking into a job. It's just like, are you going to use it smartly? Are you going to post content, or are you going to consume content? I do a little bit of both. I consume a fair bit.
You do a really good job, man. I'm really proud of the fact that you're helping support your family and everything through your curiosity and your adept handling of this stuff. So, I wouldn't have known how to do it at 16, 17. Well, I was 17 now, but I mean, when I was 17, all I wanted to do was, dress like the Beatles.
Yeah,
and write those songs, So that's the ghost I've chased.
For sure. Do you think that there's do you think that sometimes you can get caught up so much in your ambitions that you're like chasing your own tail? Like, I think a lot of people lose themselves in the pursuit of what they perceive to be their dreams.
I think people bring in the wrong influences that kind of detour their drive. Like when we signed with MCA, I would have done anything they suggested when we were recording. At one point, we wrote a song. It was the one song I didn't like on the album. It was called Love Never Rust. And MCA loved this song. They loved it. And they're like, we want you to change it. Can you change the second verse? Can you do this? And by the time we were done doing what the A&R at the record label wanted us to do, I fucking hated the song.
Yeah.
It was nothing like I wanted it to sound like. But that was what they wanted to be the single release. Here's the thing. About a month ago, for the first time in years, I listened to the song off the Spotify. And I thought, damn, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
This so sounds like a hit.
Yeah.
But I was so full of myself and how I wanted to put songs across that I didn't understand that they were trying to monetize my talent by making a hit that would sell for their label.
Right.
So my judgment was tied up in my ego.
I feel like I have that too with this. Like, if you get you could get some footage of like the turtles and stuff. In my head, I'm like thinking like that's not my content. But maybe if I included that, maybe it'd attract a different audience. Like sometimes I get kind of ego driven and like tunnel vision. We're like, okay, my content has to be like this, and any outside suggestions, like they just don't know.
That's exactly what happened to me with MCA.
Yeah, like they just don't know the vision I have. But I mean, I don't know. To make it anywhere in life, you have to take people's like opinions into consideration.
You have to go where you want to go to get to where you want to get, and I mean that's what you're doing. So you know you're gonna go down some dead ends. You know, the turtles will probably go, dude, over here. And you're like, nah, sorry. Dude, I'm a turtle. Sorry, I can't even come close. Yeah, you know, you can't touch them or anything.
They'll shoot you if you lay a finger. Not a finger.
They're watching you. They've got security up on the turtle beaches. They don't want you touching the sea life. Right. So, yeah.
Where can the people at home find you? And I want to just say, if you guys are watching this, come out to Honolulu, Hawaii, and watch one of this brother's gigs in person. Like you'd be, he's very good, very good. Where can people find you?
I have solo residencies and band residencies every Monday at 5:30 Honolulu time. I am at a wonderful bar and grill called Tiki's in the heart of Waikiki, across the street from the most famous beach in the world, Beach. So I'm there 5:30 at Tiki's.
I think a tornado just started.
It's Allah. We want you to end this interview.
No, it's Shaitan. Shaitan's trying to prevent you from plugging your music.
On Tuesdays, I'm at Maui Brew. What you can do is you can go on Instagram and go to Michael Piranha Music. Piranha like the fish. The band with Iran in the middle of the name. P. Iran Ha.
P. Iran Ha. So Michael Piranha everywhere. Go check him out. Shoot him a follow on his socials if you enjoyed this podcast. And yeah, subscribe to me, like the video, share the video. And man, it's been a great time. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, give me a hug.
Let's go. Let's go.
Oh, mwah.
Look at this. Who says that enemy signs can't get along? Who says that we can't be friends? You know.
Just one more night to sleep out where I can get to him.
Yeah. All right. We'll see about that.
So for Tyson's final broadcast, aloha.